Boston Celtics. Efficiency. The Boston Celtics are built like a championship roster. 2 All-NBA wings in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. One of the best defensive backcourts in the league with Drew Holiday and Derek White. Shooting, size, and depth across the board. But when you zoom in on why they've come up short in recent years, one theme repeats over and over: efficiency in the biggest moments. When things are flowing, Boston's offense is a masterpiece. Crisp passes, spacing, open threes, and paint touches. But under playoff pressure, that fluidity often disappears. We've seen them revert to isolation-heavy possessions, long step-back threes early in the shot clock, and unnecessary turnovers. In the 2022 finals, they let winnable games against Golden State slip away because the offense stalled. In the 2023 Eastern Conference Finals, Miami feasted on their mistakes in crunch time. It's not just shooting percentage, it's decision-making. The Celtics can dominate for 42 minutes and then lose the final 6 badly enough to hand the game away. Until they can consistently execute smart, high-percentage offense in close games, efficiency will remain the one flaw that keeps them from banner number. Dallas Mavericks, the trade. Since Luka Doncic arrived, the Mavericks' identity has been shaped by big swings in the trade market. First came Kristaps Porzingis, a 7 feet 3 inches floor-spacing big who was supposed to be the perfect co-star. It never worked. Injuries, awkward fit, and playoff letdowns led to his departure. Then came Kyrie Irving in 2023, pure offensive brilliance, but at the cost of defensive depth and long-term assets. The problem with the trade is what it leaves behind. Luka and Kyrie can torch any defense, but the roster around them often lacks the defensive stoppers and reliable role players needed for playoff battles. In 2022, when they reached the West Finals, they had guys like Jalen Brunson and Dorian Finney-Smith providing balance. Now, it feels top-heavy. Dallas has to figure out how to add star help without gutting the foundation, because Luka's prime years are ticking away. Los Angeles Lakers, Nuggets. Every team has a measuring stick. For the Lakers, it's the Denver Nuggets. Denver didn't just beat LA in the 2023 Western Conference Finals, they swept them. And while the games were close, the Nuggets always had an answer. Nikola Jokic shredded them with passing. Jamal Murray hit clutch shot after clutch shot, and Denver's role players outperformed LA's. It's not just a playoff thing, Denver has been a problem for the Lakers in the regular season too. Anthony Davis can't outmuscle Jokic alone, and even LeBron James can't will them past Denver's depth and chemistry at his age, until the Lakers specifically build to beat Denver more shooting, more size, and more defensive versatility. The road to the finals will keep going through a team they can't seem to solve. Golden State Warriors, a center. Golden State's dynasty was built on small ball magic, but the one piece they haven't truly replaced is a dominant defensive center. Back in the Bogut era, they had size, rim protection, and rebounding to complement their shooting. Now Kevon Looney works hard and rebounds well, but he's undersized against elite big men. Teams like the Lakers, Nuggets, and Kings have exposed this in recent years. Without a true interior anchor, the Warriors get punished in the paint and give up too many second-chance points. Their system can cover this in the regular season, but in the playoffs, where matchups decide series, it's a glaring hole. Philadelphia 76ers, Embiid's health. The Sixers' championship dreams rest on one man, Joel Embiid. When healthy, he's a dominant MVP-level force on both ends. But year after year, playoff injuries change everything. In 2021, it was a torn meniscus. In 2022, a fractured face and thumb injury. In 2023, a knee sprain. Philadelphia's entire identity revolves around Embiid's dominance. But when he's not at full strength, the offense slows, spacing collapses, and the defense loses its backbone. Until the Sixers figure out how to manage his regular season load and keep him healthy deep into the playoffs, Embiid's health will remain their defining weakness. New York Knicks, defense. The Knicks play hard, rebound well, and thrive on grit. But modern NBA defense demands more versatility than they've shown. Against elite guards and wings, their perimeter defense can crack. Mitchell Robinson protects the paint, but when opponents spread the floor and hunt mismatches, New York struggles. In the playoffs, that weakness is magnified. Trae Young in 2021, Jimmy Butler, and Miami in 2023. Both expose New York's inability to slow down perimeter shot creation when it matters most. Memphis Grizzlies, finishing the job. Memphis talks like a contender and plays like one in the regular season, but when the playoffs arrive, they haven't proven they can finish. In 2022, they pushed Golden State but lost key moments. In 2023, they were the number 2 seed and got bounced in round 1 by the Lakers. Injuries to Ja Morant and Steven Adams have hurt, but championship teams find ways to push through. Until the Grizzlies can back up their swagger with deep playoff runs, finishing the job will remain their biggest question. Oklahoma City Thunder, experienced experienced vet OKC has one of the brightest futures in the NBA. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is already an MVP candidate. Chet Holmgren looks like a future star, but the roster is incredibly young, and that lack of playoff-tested veterans can be a weakness in high-pressure games. In the playoffs, experience matters. Knowing how to slow a game down, how to respond to a 10-0 run, how to execute when the crowd is hostile, these are lessons learned over years, not months. Until OKC adds that veteran stabilizer, their youth will be both their biggest strength and their biggest weakness. Cleveland Cavaliers, Golden State. The Cavs' weakness has been a specific nemesis, the Golden State Warriors in the LeBron era. While that chapter has closed, the bigger point remains. Cleveland's current core hasn't proven it can beat elite playoff teams with drastically different styles. Their twin tower lineup of Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley is great defensively, but when spacing gets tight, the offense struggles. Last postseason, the Knicks exposed them in the first round, out-muscling them and shutting down Donovan Mitchell. Until Cleveland balances offense and defense against top-tier playoff opponents, they'll remain more promising than proven. Houston Rockets, Yao for Houston. Yao is shorthand for a long-running problem, building around a star big man and then failing to sustain success. Yao Ming's career was derailed by injuries, and since then, the Rockets have shifted identities multiple times. Harden iso ball, small ball experiments, now a young rebuild. Their current weakness is offensive consistency. They can look electric one night and completely disjointed the next. Until the Rockets find a true offensive identity that complements their young core, they'll remain stuck between potential and results. Chicago Bulls, post-MJ. It's been decades since Michael Jordan left, and the Bulls have been chasing a true contender ever since. The current roster, built around DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Nikola Vucevic, is talented, but stuck in the middle. Too good to tank, not good enough to contend. Their weakness is direction. Are they rebuilding? Are they all in? Without a clear path, they risk staying in NBA purgatory. Minnesota Timberwolves, point guard Minnesota's front court is loaded. Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, and Anthony Edwards give them size and scoring. But without a dynamic, long-term point guard, the offense can stall in crunch time. Mike Conley is steady, but at his age, the Wolves need someone who can control pace, limit turnovers, and create shots in big moments. Miami Heat. One A Jimmy Butler is the heartbeat of the Miami Heat, and when the playoffs start, he turns into one of the most dangerous players in the league. We've seen him carry the Heat past higher seeds, drop 40+ in must-win games, and push his body to the limit. But here's the problem. Over an 82-game regular season, Jimmy doesn't always play at that level. Whether it's conserving energy or dealing with nagging injuries, his scoring output drops, and that's when the Heat's lack of a consistent A scorer gets exposed. Tyler Herro can get hot, Bam Adebayo can take over for stretches, but neither consistently produces superstar scoring over months. That's why Miami often sneaks into the playoffs instead of dominating the regular season. Without a co-star to shoulder the load when Jimmy isn't in full playoff Jimmy mode, the Heat's offense will always live and die by his availability and energy. Detroit Pistons. Since 2009, it's been over a decade since the Detroit Pistons were truly relevant in the playoff picture. Since 2009, they've been stuck in one of the NBA's longest rebuilds, cycling through coaches, draft picks, and free agents without finding a long-term solution. Bad draft luck? Absolutely. Questionable signings? Plenty. And the constant roster turnover has kept them from building any kind of chemistry. Even when they've landed promising young talent like Cade Cunningham or Jaden Ivey, injuries and instability have slowed development. The real weakness here isn't just talent, it's organizational direction. Until Detroit builds a stable, sustainable plan and sticks to it, they'll keep taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. Orlando Magic. Shooting. The Orlando Magic are young, long, and defensively tough. With players like Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, they've got size and versatility that can cause problems for any team. But in today's NBA, you have to be able to shoot, and Orlando simply can't do it consistently. Without reliable three-point threats, defenses just pack the paint, making it harder for their slashers and big men to operate. This forces Orlando into tough, contested shots late in the clock. Until they add multiple high-level shooters to space the floor, their offense will remain predictable and easy for playoff defenses to shut down. Milwaukee Bucks. EBBG&D, everything but beating great and deep teams. The Bucks can dominate the regular season and crush weaker opponents, but in the playoffs, they've run into deep, versatile teams and lost. Giannis Antetokounmpo is a generational force, but playoff defenses build a wall in the paint, daring Milwaukee's other stars to beat them. When Chris Middleton isn't fully healthy, the offense can get stagnant, relying on tough isolation shots. Even with the addition of Damian Lillard, the challenge is the same, beating well-coached, balanced playoff teams who can expose defensive mismatches. The Bucks aren't just chasing wins, they're chasing the ability to adapt and survive deep playoff series. Toronto Raptors. Kawhi leaving. The Toronto Raptors reached the mountaintop in 2019 thanks to Kawhi Leonard's legendary playoff run. But when Kawhi left for the Clippers, the Raptors lost their superstar closer, the guy who can hit that shot when everything else breaks down. Since then, they've been a competitive, well-coached team, but in the playoffs, the lack of a go-to scorer has been the difference. Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet before he left, and Scotty Barnes are great pieces, but none have consistently taken over games at Kawhi's level. Until they find that caliber of player again, Toronto's ceiling will be limited. New Orleans Pelicans. Injuries. The Pelicans have the talent to scare anyone. Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, that's a legit big three. But we've barely seen them all healthy at the same time. Zion's injury history is already one of the biggest what-ifs in the NBA. Without consistent playing time together, the Pelicans can't build the chemistry or playoff experience needed to contend. Every season starts with promise and ends with, if only they'd been healthy. Until their stars stay on the court, this team will remain potential heavy but results light. Utah Jazz. Identity. The Jazz spent years as a playoff regular with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, but never made it past the second round. Now, that era is over, and Utah is caught between rebuilding and competing. They have exciting young players like Lauri Markkanen and a stockpile of draft picks, but no clear identity. Are they developing young talent? Are they trying to win now? Until they choose a direction and build around it, they risk staying stuck in the middle. Too good to tank, not good enough to contend. Brooklyn Nets. Celtics trade. The infamous 2013 trade with Boston, giving away unprotected picks for aging stars Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett, gutted Brooklyn's future for years. Even when they rebuilt into a star-powered team with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, they never truly recovered from the depth and stability they lost. Injuries, drama, and roster turnover kept them from maximizing their championship window. Now they're rebuilding again, but the shadow of that trade and the chaos of the KD-Kyrie era still lingers. Washington Wizards. Basketball. The Wizards' biggest weakness might be basketball itself. For years, they've hovered around mediocrity. Too good to tank, too bad to contend. They've had stars like Bradley Beal and John Wall, but injuries, bad contracts, and inconsistent roster moves have kept them from breaking through. Without a clear direction, they've been stuck in the NBA's worst place, the middle of the pack. Portland Trail Blazers, winning with Dame Damian Lillard, gave Portland over a decade of loyalty and elite scoring, but the Blazers never surrounded him with the defense or co-star he needed to contend for a title. Outside of the 2019 Western Conference Finals run, they rarely got deep into the playoffs. Now Dame is gone, and the Blazers are in rebuild mode. Their weakness was never Lillard. It was the failure to give him the right team around him before his prime years ran out. Indiana Pacers. Inconsistency. The Pacers can look like a top-tier team one night and then lose to a bottom feeder the next. They've got young talent like Tyrese Halliburton, and they play an exciting style, but they haven't found steady production game to game. Without that consistency, they'll remain stuck between the lottery and the lower playoff seeds. Charlotte Hornets. Playoffs. The Hornets have one of the longest playoff droughts in the NBA. Between injuries, lack of star power, and constant front office changes, they can't seem to break through. LaMelo Ball is a bright spot, but until they surround him with winning pieces, they'll stay in the lottery. Sacramento Kings. Early 2000s. The early 2000s. Kings were one of the most exciting teams in basketball, and they've spent nearly 2 decades trying to get back there. Even after breaking their playoff drought in 2023, defense remains their Achilles heel. Until they can defend at a championship level, they'll stay fun, but not truly dangerous in May and June. Phoenix Suns. Getting it done. The Suns have been on the doorstep. Finals in 2021, deep playoff runs since, but haven't finished the job. Injuries to Chris Paul, lack of depth, and bad timing have all played a role. Now with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal, the pressure is higher than ever. But talent alone won't bring a ring. They need health, chemistry, and execution under pressure. San Antonio Spurs. Father Time. The Spurs were the NBA's gold standard for 2 decades. Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Kawhi Leonard. But eventually, Father Time caught up, and the dynasty ended. Now they're rebuilding around Victor Wembanyama, the most hyped prospect since LeBron. The question isn't whether they'll be good again, it's how fast they can get there. Atlanta Hawks. The Finals. The Hawks shocked everyone with their 2021 Eastern Conference Finals run, knocking out the top-seeded Sixers along the way. But since then, they've regressed. Defensive lapses, inconsistent effort, and locker room drama have kept them from building on that success. Until they commit to defense and leadership, the finals will remain a distant dream.